It was supposed to be the happiest time of year. Snow fell gently outside the windows. Twinkling lights lined the rooftop, and gifts were already wrapped under the tree. But for Claire, Christmas Eve became a nightmare. A sudden fire tore through her home, and in the chaos, her 3-year-old twins, Mia and Caleb, were trapped inside. Firefighters arrived too late. The flames left nothing but ashes, and Claire's life was never the same. She moved towns, quit her job, and spent every day trying to piece herself back together. Every holiday season brought waves of grief, and though people told her to move on, the ache in her heart never left. 6 years later, Claire stood alone in an airport terminal, her flight delayed by weather. She sipped her coffee, distracted, watching families reunite near the arrival's gate. And then she froze. 2 children stepped off a plane holding hands, both with the same dark curls and dimpled smiles she once kissed goodnight. A man followed behind them, guiding them gently, protectively. But it was the girl who turned and looked directly at Claire, eyes wide, then quickly looked away. Something inside Claire cracked open. Her heart pounded as she stepped forward, unsure if her mind was playing tricks or if she had just seen her twins, the same ones she buried 6 years ago. What happened that night? Who were those children? And why did the girl look like she recognized her? The answers were about to unravel everything Claire thought she knew. Claire couldn't move. Her breath caught in her throat as the children disappeared into the crowd. The girl had looked right at her. Not just a glance, something deeper, like recognition. Claire stumbled toward the gate, scanning every face, but the man and the twins were gone. Her mind raced. Could grief really play tricks that cruel? She had accepted their death, even if her heart never truly believed it. The fire investigators had found 2 small bodies in the remains. There was no doubt. No reason to question until now. As she sat in her car outside the airport, memories of that night crashed over her. The smell of smoke, the sound of sirens. She'd been out buying more wrapping paper. Just 10 minutes, that's all. When she returned, the house was engulfed. They told her it started in the living room, an old string of lights. She never saw her children again. She never even got to say goodbye. Back in the present, Claire opened an old photo on her phone. Mia's gap-toothed smile. Caleb's dimple when he laughed. The girl in the airport looked just like Mio's same eyes, same slight scar on the chin. From a fall at the playground. That scar wasn't in her imagination. It was real. Something didn't add up. Had there been a mistake? Or something darker? Something intentional? Claire knew one thing. She wasn't letting this go. Not again. She had already lost them once. She wouldn't walk away without knowing the truth. Claire couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that little girl's face staring back at her. The same round cheeks, the way she clutched her brother's hand. Even the nervous glance behind her shoulder, as if she knew she was being watched. Claire kept replaying the moment over and over. What if it really was Mia and Caleb? What if someone had taken them before the fire? The thought chilled her. But who would do such a thing, and why? The next morning, she went back to the airport. She asked about the flight that had just arrived before her sighting, pretending she had misplaced a suitcase and needed to trace a family she'd met on board. The airline agent hesitated, but eventually told her the flight came from Colorado Springs. Claire had no ties there. No reason her children would be in that place, lest someone had moved them far away on purpose. Claire then reached out to Beth, her closest friend from those days. Beth had been with her through the grief, even helped arrange the funeral. Claire hesitated, but finally said the words, "I think I saw them, Mia and Caleb." Beth's pause on the other end of the line was too long. Claire felt it deep in her stomach. "That's impossible," Beth said, her voice trembling. But there was something else in her tone. not disbelief, something more like fear. Claire heard it, and suddenly she knew this went deeper than she ever imagined. Claire couldn't shake the way. Beth reacted. It wasn't just surprise, it was controlled panic. That night, Claire drove to Beth's house, unannounced. The porch light was on, but no one answered the door. Through the window, she saw the soft glow of a TV and an untouched cup of tea. She knew Beth was home, but she was hiding. Claire left without knocking again, but her mind was racing. Knew something. Why had she kept it quiet all these years? What was she protecting? The next day, Claire booked a one-way ticket to Colorado Springs. It was a long shot, but it was the only real lead. She didn't know anyone there, but she brought photos of the twins and asked around coffee shops, parks, even schools. Most people shook their heads kindly, but one woman paused when she saw the picture. "They live up near Pine Brook," she said quietly, glancing over her shoulder. "With their guardian." Claire's heart stopped. The woman wouldn't say more. Just walked off nervously. That night, Claire drove toward the Pine Brook neighborhood, a quiet area surrounded by woods. As she pulled onto a gravel road, her headlights caught a small cabin tucked between tall trees. And then she saw two bikes leaning against the porch, one with pink streamers. Her hands gripped the wheel. She didn't know what she'd find inside or who had been raising her children for the past 6 years. But she knew this was the place, and someone inside knew the truth. Claire waited in her car for nearly an hour, watching the cabin. The lights were on, and shadows moved behind the curtains, two small figures, one taller. She finally stepped out, heart pounding, and approached the porch. Before she could knock, the door creaked open slightly, and a woman appeared. Older gray-streaked hair pulled into a loose braid. Her face went pale the moment she saw Claire. "You shouldn't be here," the woman whispered, stepping outside and pulling the door halfway shut behind her. Claire's voice shook. "Are they mine?" The woman didn't answer, just looked down, almost ashamed. "You need to leave before he comes back." Claire's blood ran cold. "Who?" But before she could respond, the sound of tires on gravel broke the silence. A dark SUV pulled into the driveway. The woman's eyes widened. "Get back in your car now." Claire ducked behind the porch rail instead. She watched as a tall man stepped out of the vehicle, his face mostly hidden by the shadows. He looked toward the cabin, then toward the woods, like he sensed something was off. The woman met him at the door and said something Claire couldn't hear. He stepped inside and the lights flicked off. Claire's mind reeled. If this man had taken her children, who was he? And why had no one ever come looking for him? More importantly, how had he kept them hidden for 6 years? Then, from inside, she heard a small voice. "Mommy." Claire's breath caught in her throat. That voice, it was Mia. Without thinking, she stood up and stepped into the porch light. The front door cracked open again, and this time, both children were standing there, their faces unsure, eyes wide. Claire whispered, "Mia, Caleb." The girl took a small step forward, hesitated, then ran toward her. Claire dropped to her knees as both children rushed into her arms, tears already falling. There was no doubt now. They were hers. The woman from before stood frozen, clearly torn. "I tried to keep them safe," she said softly. "He told me they were abandoned, that you died in the fire." Claire looked at her through stunned silence. "Who is he?" Before she could answer, the man appeared in the doorway, its expression hardened as he saw the reunion. "They're mine now," he said coldly, stepping down from the cabin. "I raised them." Claire stood protectively in front of her kids. "You stole them?" Police sirens cut through the silence. Claire had secretly called 911 earlier, just in case. The man froze, backing away. Within moments, flashing lights lit up the woods. Officers surrounded him as he tried to escape, placing him under arrest. But the final twist came later. At the station, when Claire reviewed the official report, the man was her late husband's estranged brother, someone she barely remembered from years ago. He had faked the twins' death to hurt her, and nearly got away with it until fate brought them back together. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotion. Claire sat with investigators for hours, piecing together the years that had been stolen from her. Her late husband's brother, Mark, had staged everything, set the fire, planted false evidence, and vanished with the twins under a new identity. He'd told neighbors and even the children that Claire had died, but deep down, Mia had remembered. That's why she stared so hard at the airport. Something inside her still knew her mother. Claire learned the woman at the cabin, Denise, had cared for the twins like her own. She hadn't known the truth in the beginning. When she found out, she stayed out of fear and guilt. Now, with Mark in custody, Denise agreed to testify and the children were finally safe. Mia and Caleb slowly began to remember familiar bedtime stories, songs Claire used to hum. Even the scent of her perfume made Caleb tear up one night. Therapy was arranged, and Claire was patient. She knew they'd need time to heal, just as she had. 6 years of pain couldn't be undone overnight, but every day felt lighter. Claire kept reminding herself that they were together. Now that was what mattered. She redecorated their new home with family photos, fresh paint, and quiet joy.